Welcome into NFL Daily. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and today we're going to be talking about three quarterbacks in the NFL right now that I think are probably worse than you think that they are. But before we get into the content today, let me know down there in the comments section who's an NFL quarterback who gets way too much love, gets top 10, top 15 love that doesn't deserve it. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Now, before we get into these three names that I'm going to be discussing today, a little bit of a disclaimer. Just because these quarterbacks are on this list doesn't mean that I think that they are a bad quarterback or anything like that. It's just I think that they, in reality, might be a little bit less than what the public perception of these players are. And certainly a couple of players on this list I think have a lot of potential. We'll start here with Baker Mayfield, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback, who I think is a very good quarterback. All right, I want to make that abundantly clear off the bat. And there's no denying that Baker's production, especially last year in Liam Cohen's offense last year, was awesome. Over 70% completion percentage, 4,500 yards, 41 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions. So, for me to come up here and say that he's worse than what people think, I think a lot of people look at that production and say, this guy's a top 10 quarterback in the National Football League. And then even his advanced stats point to that reality. Fifth in adjusted EPA per play last year, fifth in success rate, ninth in completion percentage over expected, seventh in yards per attempt, second in touchdown percentage, and ninth in average time to throw, which means he's getting the ball out fast and he's limiting sacks. But here's the deal with Baker, guys. I think that he is a little bit of a product of Liam Cohen's system, which I think was really excellent last year in Tampa Bay. Now, like I said, Baker is more than capable of executing a well-designed offense, but I do think that there are some stats that show that Baker benefited from being in that really brilliantly designed, dirty bunch look, screen-heavy type of offense that Liam Cohen brought to the Buccaneers last year. He was 37th in average depth of target, so it was a lot of easy completions for Baker, and then a lot of times his receivers were in positions to make plays after the catch, which of course goes towards Baker's stats, but all Baker had to do was complete a short pass, which of course a lot of quarterbacks are able to do. The big-time throw percentage, which is the percentage of plays Pro Football Focus collects, that Baker was actually elevating the group, throwing the ball into tight windows, difficult style throws. Only 3.7% of his throws last year were deemed big time, which was 24th in the National Football League. And then pretty much the same amount of his plays last year were turnover worthy, according to Pro Football Focus last year. He was 30th in turnover worthy play percentage. So he's definitely a gunslinger. And for somebody that doesn't throw the ball down the field as much as some of the other quarterbacks in the league, he does tend to put the ball in harm's way, which obviously is not the most ideal trait. So I think what those stats mean is, A, Liam Cohen gave Baker a lot of easy production last year, and obviously that goes towards Baker's stats. It makes Baker look really good, but in terms of the other quarterbacks in this league that are capable of really having a lot of big-time throws, throwing the ball down the field in the tight windows and elevating their offenses, Baker's somebody that's kind of a beneficiary of a really well-designed scheme and really good weapons around him. Then also Baker put the ball in harm's way, like we talked about, pretty much just as much as he was elevating the offense in Tampa Bay last year. So if you're putting Baker in your top 10 quarterback list, I mean, obviously the production was there with Liam Cohen last year, but now it's yet another offensive coordinator in Tampa this year, and if it's not as well designed, I don't think we see that same level of production from Baker Mayfield this year. But I think he is very firmly in the good starting quarterback tier, very similar to guys like maybe Jared Goff, where, he's maybe not going to completely elevate a group if you got a bad offensive line and bad weapons, but if you got a good O-line, you got good weapons, you got a good scheme around him, absolutely, you can win games with Baker Mayfield, and Tampa Bay very clearly should be the favorites in the NFC South this year with Baker Mayfield as their starting quarterback. And I think another thing that I would take away here from Liam Cohen getting that much production out of Baker Mayfield, who just a couple of years ago people were ready to write off as a backup level quarterback, if anyone's going to get the most out of Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville, I think it's going to be Cohen. He's going to be doing a lot of very modern stuff with the screen game. He's going to be doing a lot of dirty bunches, getting that motion into those bunch looks, confusing defenses. I'm really excited to see what Trevor Lawrence is going to do in Liam Cohen's offense, because Liam got the very most out of Baker Mayfield in 2024. Now, before we get into the other two quarterbacks that we're going to be talking about on today's show, you guys can get a t-shirt of your favorite NFL player from our friends at Fanatics. It's on sale right now, guys. guys, you can go chatsports.com/NFL shirt. This is kind of the time of the year where you want to really capitalize on some of these deals right before your favorite team's training camp. You can go whatever team you want, whatever player you want. You guys can get it right now, chatsports.com/NFL shirt. That link is down in the comments and description of today's show. If you want a new t-shirt for your favorite team, really do appreciate all of your guys' support. So now coming up here, the second-year quarterback most likely to regress, okay? Last year's quarterback class was pretty darn good. We didn't get to see J.J. McCarthy in the regular season last year, but Caleb Williams showed some good things even though that Bears offense struggled. Jaden Daniels had a historic rookie season with the Commanders, leading them to the NFC Championship game. Drake May had a really promising first year with the New England Patriots, and then Bo Nix also went to the playoffs. But, sorry Broncos fans, Bo Nix is my second quarterback that is probably worse than you think. The Broncos had a really good defense last year. It was top 5 in the National Football League. And then to boot, Bo Nix's surface level stats look pretty darn good. 66% completion percentage, over 3,700 yards, 29 touchdowns as a rookie, and 12 interceptions. If you just look at those baseline stats, it definitely looks pretty darn good for Bo Nix. But you also have to remember, guys, those are padded a little bit by the fact that he had 567 pass attempts last year, which was 6th most in the National Football League. So obviously, the yards are going to be a little bit more, and they're going to look a little bit better compared to some of the guys that didn't get as many pass attempts as Bo Nix did in that Broncos offense that didn't really have much of a run game. But you take a look at the advanced stats from Bo from a per pass and per play kind of basis. His adjusted EPA per play was 20th. That's not bad, but that's certainly not top 10 level. So his success rate was 26th. Completion percentage over expectation was 24th. His average depth of target was 26, which means he was throwing a lot of short passes and screens. The 29th yards per attempt, so the efficiency wasn't all that great. And then the big time throw percentage, the same thing we talked about with Baker Mayfield, isn't all that high. 28th for him last year was his rate of elevating the offense there for the Denver Broncos. And really what I think that another thing that I think kind of lowers my grade on Bo Nix from last year's rookie season is that he did have elite protection. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's a bad quarterback, but last year he had the largest differential between pressure percentage and average time to throw, which means that he's taken a while to throw that football, but he isn't really getting pressured because he's benefiting from his really great pass-protecting O-line there in Denver. Now, he's going to have that again this year, so I do expect him to benefit from this yet again, but that is something else you have to take into account here where he's not really getting pressured all that much. And then I do think that Bo Nix could take a step forward this year. I think he did a good job protecting the football this past year. I also think he did a good job getting the ball in the end zone, in the red zone. I thought he executed in the red zone really well. I think someday he could be a really high-functioning game manager for an NFL team, but I think people are talking about Bo Nix like he is a new star quarterback in this league, and he's already like a top 15 level guy. And even though he did these two things well, some of the other advanced stats that we showed you, shows a rookie that really had his rookie lumps last year. So he could certainly take another step here in year 2. Definitely rooting for him. But if there's any second-year quarterback that I think is going to regress in terms of his overall production this year, it's probably going to be Broncos quarterback Bo Nix. Now, before we get into the final name that we're going to discuss today, go ahead and click that thumbs up icon if you're having a good time today. I'm sure Broncos and Buccaneers fans maybe aren't having the best time out there because I'm saying their quarterbacks aren't as good as people think. But if you're anybody else and you're enjoying today's content, click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. And we'll finish up here with somebody that I think a lot of people consider a top 15 quarterback. Some people even think top 10 quarterback, and that is C.J. Stroud. And I think Stroud has a lot of potential and a lot of promise. He has some really, really great highs on his film where he's throwing the ball down the field with anticipation, touch. His high-end throws are as good as it gets in the National Football League. And I thought his rookie season, he showed a lot of promise, even if he was a little bit overhyped. You take a look at his advanced stats in 2024, and like a lot of these are really good, right? You're, around league average in EPA per play, around league average in success rate, around league average in touchdown percentage, around league average in big time throw percentage and turnover worthy play percentage. But the thing that was really good was the yards per attempt efficiency. Bobby Slowick in that play action passing attack was really going well in that first season with C.J. Stroud in this offense, but the thing that was maybe not so good was his time to throw. He was somebody that really held the football for a long time. He was the 5th slowest average time to throw in the league. So I thought he showed a lot of promise, and heading into year 2, I kind of expected him to maybe creep into the top 10 in a lot of these categories, but instead he had some really big regressions last year. Everything in red is things that he got worse at or the same as the previous season. 31st in adjusted EPA per play last year. That's not 2025, by the way. It's 2024 advanced stats. That's my mistake right there on the graphic. But 34th in success rate, 33rd in completion percentage over expected, 22nd in yards per attempt efficiency after being 3rd the previous season. He was 30th in touchdown percentage, and he was still 18th at big-time throw percentage. That number pretty much stayed the same. The turnover-worthy play percentage did go up a little bit. That's the only thing that did improve slightly, but the average time to throw, once again, was the 5th slowest. So CJ is somebody that the accuracy went down, his comfortability in that offense went down last year, and he's still holding on to the ball for too long. So CJ can absolutely still turn it around. I still think he's got a lot of talent, and kind of like Baker Mayfield, kind of like Jared Goff, kind of like Brock Purdy, these guys, that are in that really good starter type of tier. I think if you put a great scheme and good protection and really good weapons around him, he could be pretty darn good someday with his level of anticipation, with his football IQ, with his ability to rip the ball down the field, his easy gas, with his arm strength. He's got a lot of potential, guys, but last year the production really went down, and he really needs to process things quicker and get the ball out faster, not to mention be more consistent getting the ball out accurately if he's going to become a top 10 quarterback in the National Football League in the future. So let me know, who is the worst quarterback that we talk about today? Who's the most overhyped in terms of the 3 quarterbacks we talked about today? Type BM for Baker Mayfield, type BN for Bo Nix, or type CJ for CJ Stroud. I think based on the numbers last year, CJ actually had the worst season out of these 3 quarterbacks, but I think in terms of overall ability and talent, Bo Nix probably is the worst quarterback out of these 3 right now. Now, that'll be it for today's edition of NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Thank you guys so much for sticking around today. Don't forget to let me know which quarterback you think is overhyped down there in the comments section. Was it somebody we talked about today? Did I miss somebody? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Until next time, guys, peace out.